Welcome to Muddy River News this week. I'm Bob Gough. My guest today is Tim Bass. He is currently an assistant state's attorney at the Adams County State's Attorney's Office, but more than 99.9% likely he will be our next judge in the 8th Judicial Circuit, and I'll explain all that here in a minute. Hello there.
Thank you.
Good to
be here, Bob.
Good to have you here, and congratulations on your primary win.
Thank you so much.
So you are the Republican nominee for the seat. Now, and they no longer can slate candidates, I believe. So, and the Democrats didn't run anybody in the first place. There is a deadline in September for a potential write-in, but those are very slim and few and far between. So, I think it would be a very safe bet that come the day after the election in November, you'll be official.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's not count all our chickens.
Right.
Count most of them, just not all of them.
Day at a time.
Yeah, that's right. So, should you be victorious in November, when would you get your robe?
I believe the term would begin the first week of December.
That's kind of what I thought. That worked out with all those. The 8 counties in the circuit, you had a long race, and that is not easy. It's like running for state rep, because you've got to be in 8 counties, and you want to make sure you represent all of them. You had fortunate from being around the Rushville area, so you had good support there, and you had good support across the board as the returns came in on Tuesday. It seemed pretty obvious you had this one well in hand. What do you attribute your resounding victory to?
This is my first and only campaign for office, but my experience as a prosecutor taught me to be who I am and be honest with people and tell them about myself and why I'm running for judge. And so I attribute my unimaginable success in this race to my team, who helped, to my wife first, who stood beside me all the way, helped me, to the team that we put together, and I went out and met with people, and every parade, every fall festival, every breakfast, to meet people, the community, the voters, and to tell them why I was running to be their judge.
And I know in a lot of these types of races, you look at Adams County, which of course has the large bulk of the votes. But like you said, my word, not your word, you were pretty much omnipresent. I saw things on social media, and of course attended a lot of events around the area as well. And you seemed to be at all of them. And like you said, that's the legwork you have to do. And you gave the proper credit first and foremost to your wife.
Yes.
Because if she is not behind you, it doesn't happen.
That's right. And my wife Nancy is the best part about me. She and I worked together in the U.S. Attorney's Office for 25 years, and she was by my side there, and she was by my side throughout this campaign.
And I think when you talk about that kind of teamwork, and again, I think running for office, and again, you said you haven't done it much, and this is running for judge is a different animal. I think when you look at that, we do it with the party system and how we do it, and then once you get in, it's like the retention thing, and once you get your percentage of the votes, you're fine. But running for judge is not the same. Holding a judge's office is not the same as being in, say, a state representative or something, because you are in there every day. Most days you're going to be in there, and you're going to be doing the work of the people. In talking to the people as the run-up to this, what is the thing that they said they expect to see out of you as a judge?
I think that was obvious from the beginning. That people want a judge that reflects their values, number one, but equally important, they want a judge who is fair, who's experienced, and I found, which I believed when I started this, a judge should be humble, a recognition that if you're honored to put on that black robe, you're the same person after you do so as you were before you do so. And the job is not about you, the person. It's about that oath that you take and your obligation to represent, to serve the people with fairness and impartiality, but also with humility.
I think that's, it's very important. I think when you're sitting there and the kind of decisions you're going to be required to make as a judge, it's about fairness, it's about justice, and it's also a little bit about compassion. Usually compassion for the victims, but every once in a while you're going to have a case where you're going to have a defendant, someone who's found guilty, and yeah, they did the wrong thing, darn it, but there might have been some circumstances there, and I think that's something that you'll take into account when that happens. And I think that in looking at those sort of things, we've got a judicial system, as you well know, already being involved in it, that is overburdened, that is just it moves slowly. The wheels of justice move slowly is not a cliche; it is a fact.
Right.
What can be done to make it? Again, with wanting to be fair, wanting to be compassionate, but what can be done to make it more efficient?
Well, I think that obviously has to come from more resources. The benefit that I had coming from the federal system is that we had substantial resources, all the way from the law enforcement agencies with whom we worked, but the court system itself was pretty much digital. Everything we did was online, and I'm learning with my experience in the state system that they're far behind. But all that stems from what resources are given to the judicial system by the state. So I think the biggest thing would be efficiently allocating more resources to the court system.
And I think that, and again, you aren't in control of the volume and flow, and when there's crime out there and our law enforcement officers who are in the field are out there bringing the bad guys in and bringing them in, it is up to you and the rest of the court system to try to make it through. But again, sometimes there's just, those dockets are really full, and you just got to get through them.
That's right, and I've told Todd Eiler, our state's attorney, and my fellow assistants in the state's attorney's office that it's been a big change for me coming from the U.S. Attorney's Office, because we could be selective on the cases that we prosecuted. We were obligated not to charge a case unless we knew that we had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. In the state system, we don't have that luxury. We have detention court every day on arrests that occurred the night before, or charges that were filed, and it's it's often referred to as a cattle call, and I don't want to be flippant about it, but that's essentially what it is that there are dozens and dozens of cases that are present in the system and always increasing as cases fall off the docket. So it's a real problem with efficiency in my experience so far.
And you mentioned that detention court, and of course, we cover that on a pretty frequent basis when people are arrested. One of the other things you're going to have to factor in when dealing with detention court is the cash bail situation. I think that the state was attempting to do something in the what it was more commonly called the Safety Act, in trying to speed up that process.
Yes.
But in doing so, they sure, did you think they did it the right way?
No, I don't. And I said during the campaign that, in my view, the Safety Act had nothing to do with safety. In the federal system, the federal statute is called the Bail Reform Act, and it didn't require cash bail. But we could, the government, could seek someone's detention if they were, for virtually any case, if they were a risk of flight or if they were a danger to the community. The two major problems with the Safety Act are, one, there's only a select number of types of offenses for which the state or a judge can detain someone. And the rest of the offenses, the person has to be released. So it leads to the absurdities of just one example. I had a person that was charged with theft a couple weeks ago. He had 54 prior theft convictions, but theft was not one of those detainable offenses, so he had to be immediately released. So it limits the types of cases for which a person can be detained. That's the main problem. But an equal problem is, once a person is on pretrial release, if they violate the terms of release, you still can't detain them unless they commit a new felony or Class A misdemeanor. So there's real problems with the way the whole system was structured, and it could be easily fixed, but I have my doubts about whether the current governor or legislature is willing to do that.
Yeah, because it's going to be up to them, and I think it's, up to the people in the court systems. You're, like you said, you're already in the court system in working for the state's attorney's office, but it's up to them to then communicate that with, our state legislators, and then to move it up the chain again. But if the party that it's in power doesn't want to see any changes, it's going to be really hard.
Correct.
So I just think and again, when you talk about the 54 theft, I mean, at some point, you would think a bunch of little crimes would add up to one big crime.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, okay, congratulations, you now get to get detained because you've been a knucklehead so many times. That just seems like a common sense answer and solution that they've just opted not to do.
I agree, and I could go on and on. Another example is if you're charged with misdemeanor domestic battery, which is and should be a detainable offense, we can seek the person's detention. But if a person is charged with aggravated battery to a police officer, that's not one of the detainable offenses. So there's examples like that common sense solutions, as you say, could easily be applied to fix the problem. But common sense could have been applied when the bill was first enacted.
No question about it. So as you, again, so you've got this transition period where you're still in the state's attorney's office, and then I know that eventually when you become when you get on the bench officially, then there's going to have to be like some kind of period where you can't be involved in cases where you were involved in the state's attorney's office. So that's how it all kind of. I know Josh Jones has had to deal with that, and that's just how it all kind of shakes out. So you might be dealing with traffic court, family court, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But also as part of this, is this a seat? This is a seat where you're in Adams County. Are you going to have to float occasionally, depending on what the chief judge needs?
Well, exactly. There are 3 at-large circuit judges in the 8th Circuit, Judge Brenner and Judge Grosball, and now myself in December. So I think if the past is any prologue for the future in terms of my role, I would think it primarily would be in Adams County, since that's the largest county, but we could be assigned to anywhere where there's a need throughout the circuit. And I would hope to do that, because I want to serve the entirety of the 8th Circuit, not just one particular county.
Yeah, I know, and like you said, you being originally from the the Rushville area as well, so that was as you spoke about. And again, I think that with your win, and now as you prepare to do this, and again, you've wanted to be a judge for a long time. You've submitted your name and not been picked before. That's one thing I just want to wrap up with the selection process. You have defeated someone who was appointed. Tad Brenner defeated someone who was appointed a few years ago as well. And I'm a big fan of elections, and we have them for a reason, and we let the people decide. Let's talk about the selection process a little bit for the appointments. Is that something that you think could be looked at in a different way?
I think so. I was criticized in the campaign that I had applied before, and I had. When I was with the U.S. Attorney's Office, we were prohibited from engaging in any political activity, and I had a goal of becoming a judge, but only after I had served 15 years as an assistant U.S. attorney and thought I had the experience to qualify me to be a judge. So the appointment process is a necessary process when there's a vacancy, but it's just a process to fill a temporary vacancy.
Right.
My criticism of the appointment process is, one, it's not transparent, and it's subject to what I call insider politics. Who you know. I was always an outsider. I never engaged in any political activity, and so I was there on my own merit. So my criticism of the appointment process is not so much that there is a process, but the way they go about that, and who's on the committee, and do they have prior relationships with any of the applicants. That's been my experience, that the appointments are not necessarily always decided based on merit.
Well, and again, lots of people applied for lots of judgeships. That's not an
Yes.
uncommon thing.
Right.
So, anyway, I think that well, again, I think the voters have spoken, and again, barring some weird write-in thing, which will probably not happen, you will be getting that robe come December. So it's been a pleasure to talk with you. Again, congratulations on your win, and best of luck when you represent us as a judge.
Thank you so much, Bob. Can I just say one last
Please.
thing as we close? I just want to thank the people of the 8th Circuit who turned out on Tuesday and voted for me. As I said at the League of Women Voters Forum, the honor of my life, one of the honors of my life, is that hundreds and hundreds of people would ask to put my name in their yard. And now thousands and thousands of people have provided me with the honor of a lifetime of serving them as a judge. And I just want to express how much I appreciate that honor that they have given to me.
Well, thank you. And on that note, have you got all your signs picked up yet?
It's in the works. I said the other day, on Tuesday night, I said I knew it was time for this campaign to come to an end because one of my friends who had a 4x4 sign in the yard said that the wind had blown the B off the sign, so it just said "Ask the Judge." So I knew that was time for this thing to come to an end. It's in the works.
That's funny. Well, it looks like you're going to have great weather over the weekend to get that done. So I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob.
That's all the time we have for now. I'm Bob Gough. We'll see you next week.